So good morning, everyone. Lynn Madden here from Australia. I'm a OneMind dog instructor, and mental training is something that I'm been really interested in for a little while, and I'm really excited to bring this topic to you today. So the topic of our webinar this morning is going to be mental training, getting out of your own head. So here at OneMind Dogs, we're really keen on making sure we get the best lives for both you and your dog. And our philosophy is about getting that connection between you and your dog and having a really good start in life. And so that connection will really work well as you're training agility. So the part of that I want to focus on today is making lives better for you and your dog. So a lot of the time we're focusing on how we can help our dogs in agility, but today we want to focus on how we're going to help you in agility, because a lot of the time when we're having issues, it can all come down to the mental side of agility. So first thing I want to talk about today is, what do we focus on in agility? And usually we are focusing on things like training our dog, making sure our dog has all the skills they need to compete in agility, making sure our dogs are fit, making sure we've got all the nice equipment and that nice collar and a good lead, and things like toys, really good toys, making sure they got the best food, and really looking after the dog side of the equation. We're putting a lot of effort in these days, and I know at OneMind Dogs in particular, we're putting a lot of effort into making sure our dogs are ready for when they first go into competition, so that they understand how competition works, so that they don't get ring stress, so they don't get ring nerves. And so we're doing a lot of that. So the thing that we tend to miss while we're focusing on all of this is the human side of the team. And so we want to be focusing as well on training the human for the mental side of agility, because agility can be a stressful game. There's can be a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves. We can get to the line as we're about to run in our agility competition, and there can be lots of things happening in our brain that if we could get on top of and control those thoughts, then we'll find that agility can become a bit easier for ourselves. So when we think about agility, agility is really a mental game. If we think about what we need to be able to do in an agility competition, is there's so much happening in such a short period of time. Most of our competition runs are going to be 30 seconds. And so there's a lot of things you have to be able to do in that 30 seconds. You need to be able to have your body and your thoughts in harmony, so that when you're running the course, you can be thinking about what's next, making sure the body is working so that you can get to what's next and then make that happen. You need to be able to read your dog's responses on the course. Is your dog feeling comfortable? Are they doing what we're asking them of? Have they seen an off course and you have to adjust your handling accordingly because you need to manage that? So these are all things that are going through your brain in that 30-second span that can really affect your performance. You need to be able to think flexibly when things go wrong. You need to have your handling almost automated so that you don't have to think about where your feet go, where your chest goes, what's happening with your hands. And then one of the big things that also happens is that little voice inside your head that's telling you that they're going to take that off-course tunnel. They're going to knock that bar. We're not going to be able to make it to this point. These are all the sort of things that happen in agility that can really impact your performance. So if we think about the first thing about what we need to do to combat all of those things that are happening in your mind while you're doing your runs at competition, the first thing is confidence. Confidence is the key. And so I know that's a really easy thing to say, just be confident, you'll be fine. But confidence is something that you can train, and it involves basically training. So you can see on this slide here, I've got training down quite a few times, because the way you build confidence is to have the trust in your training. If you train your dog, you train the sequences, you train your handling, and you get to a point in your training that the movement becomes unconscious. So when you do that front cross, you no longer have to think about it. It just happens naturally. If you train to the point where you know what your dog is going to do in a given situation, then in your mind, you become confident that you can handle what's going to happen on course. Because when you walk a course, you go, okay, I've done this in training. I can do this. We've done this before. It's going to be okay. I'm going to trust my training and it's going to be all okay. The other thing about confidence is making sure that we're looking after ourselves in terms of handler fitness. And so we've just started a new mini course on the website called Handler Fitness. And that's a really good place to start to ensure that, like focusing on our dog's fitness, we focus on our own fitness. Because if we're as fit as we can be, and, you know, hands up, I'm not the fittest person in the world, but if we're working on our fitness, we know our own body's strengths and weaknesses. And that means that you can be confident in knowing what you are capable of doing on course, so that when you go out and walk that course, you can come up with solutions based on your level of fitness, how much you've trained, how much you trust your training, and how much you trust your dog. So the more you practice in training, the more confident you can be when you go to the agility competition. And so when I say confidence is key, it all comes down to being prepared, preparing in the background, like you prepare your own dog so that they're not nervous at competition. If we do as much preparing as we can be confident when we walk out into the ring at competition time. So when we think about what has an impact on our mental game, it comes down to things like what you believe, the circle you have for yourself, your feelings and reactions and how you manage them, the inner speech, that inner talk we have in our own mind, and the attitude that you bring. So if we think about beliefs to begin with, a belief is something that, you know, deep down in your mind and in your body, you believe is true. And so these are the thoughts that can happen, like, I'm not good enough. We don't have the skills. I haven't done enough training for this. So these are sort of beliefs that we have deep down that we might not tell others. So you can be walking around with a heap of confidence or trying to project that confidence. But if you don't believe deep down that that's true, it can be a real problem in terms of your mental game. And so when we talk about beliefs, it's when they become restrictive that it's a problem. So if your belief is that I'm too unfit to get around this course, or I can't do this, I can't do that, everyone always thinks this, nobody ever knows what's going on. It's the talk that you give to yourself. If you think those things in it, like your belief is a negative type belief, like for me, I'm not fit enough to run this course, I'm never going to make it to that backside send, then you have to catch yourself when you're thinking those things. So when you're walking a course at competition and you catch yourself thinking, I'm never going to make it to that backside send, you need to be able to recognize that and change that talk in your head. So instead of going, I'm never going to make it to that backside send, it comes back to that training section. You go, okay, I've trained a really good independent backside send. Even if I can't get to where I'd like to be, I'm going to be able to get that backside send because I have trust in my dog. I have trust in my training that we're going to be able to do this, even though I might not be in a position that I'd like to be in. And so it's all about trying to recognize those deep held beliefs and start to try and change them. Now, a belief can impact your future. So the greater your restrictive belief, like I'm not fit enough to do this, it's harder to achieve success. So you really need to start thinking about whether the beliefs you hold are rooted in fact. So a really good thing to do is to have a look at the deep held beliefs that you have about yourself, your ability and agility, all the things that are slightly restrictive or negative in your mind, and just start to think about, are they really true? If you write them down and really think hard about them, are they true? And the trick is to be able to change those beliefs so that you lay out the facts about why they're not true, because it's really hard to change a deep and long held belief. But the best way to do that is to do the things like training. Training will help you overcome any of those restrictive beliefs that you have. And so if you're doing something to improve where you think you are weak, then those beliefs can be turned around. And it's all about just being really honest with yourself about, are these true, or are these just things that I've told myself over time and I now believe them. The next thing that can impact your mental game and agility is your circle. So I like to call my agility family my tribe. And these are the people that I surround myself with in agility. And they are the people that I find support me the most in being able to be the best version of myself, especially at competition. And so if you think about your circle, have a think about the last time you competed in agility, and were you able to enjoy the day? Did stuff happen on the day that impacted your ability to run your dog in agility? So some of these things could be, it was raining that day, really was a horrible day. Some can be, you heard somebody talking behind your back, somebody commenting on your dog's ability and agility, somebody having a really great run, and it's impacted, you were just about to go in and it's really impacted you, or the dog in front of you was losing its mind in the chute as you're going in, and it's impacted your dog. So these are all things that can happen at agility that can really impact your day. So in terms of your circle, there are things you can control and things you can't control. And so you need to be able to think about the things you can control and make sure that you utilize that the best way you can. So things in your control are the people you surround yourself with, like my tribe, the things that you do at competition. So things like listening to music. If you get really nervous and you need to just block out the world, put your earbuds in, listen to some music, listen to a talking book, whatever it is that gets you out of your head and able to concentrate. Things about your words. This can be a really tricky one because I know here in Australia, we tend to be self-deprecating. And so we joke about how unfit we are, or this isn't going to happen, or I'm never going to do this, or that course is just so hard, I'm never going to make it. So these are the words that can really impact your mental game, because if you've been saying that all day, joking around with your friends, and then you walk out there on that course, you've just been telling yourself how hard it's going to be. And that can be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So these are the things you can control. You can control your thinking and your ideas. And I'm not saying these things are easy to control, but they are things you can. And so you need to be able to think about those things and surround yourself with people that are going to support you in your ability at the competition. So friends that are going to tell you that you've done the training, friends that are going to be there to help you with your dog, friends that are going to be there to help you talk through the course, all of those things. The other things are the things outside your control. You can't control other people. You can't control their words, their behavior, their ideas. You can't control the rain. So these are all things that you have to sort of let go, because you can't control them. You have to just let them wash off you and work on the things that you can control. So if we think about our feelings and reactions, we all have them and they can all be big. And so what we want to be able to do is thinking about what causes a reaction to a situation. So if there's a situation that happens, you think about it, you give meaning to it, and then you react to it. And so if we have a think about an example, and this is a very common example, your dog doesn't hold a start line. And so if you think about that, what are your thoughts when that's happening? If your dog is not going to hold your start line, for example, person A, they are the ones that you will see thinking, oh, I know he's not going to hold that start line. It's not going to happen. And they'll be the people creeping out on the start line thinking, oh my God, he's going to break, he's going to break, he's going to break. And then of course the dog breaks. And so they're the people that their reaction is to be hesitant on the start line because they're confident that their dog is going to break. Person B, you can see, I don't know how to train this, is their thoughts about it. We haven't got this at home yet. This is never going to work. They're the type of person that's really worried about what are people are going to say, what are people going to look at me. And they're the person that basically probably never even gets their dog sitting on the start line. They just run because they just have no confidence at all about their ability to train that. Person C is just excited. Their dog loves agility so much, she can't wait to come out the course. The dog, if it breaks, that's their thought. They are the positive thinking person. And even though their dog breaks on course, they're not putting negative connotations to it. It's all about, okay, well, the dog's broken, it's really excited, they're going to work on that at home. And so these are about controlling your actions and your reactions to things that happen on course. And so things like your dog breaks, how are you going to react to that? What is your brain telling you to do? Some people just run, some people have a plan for it, and some people don't get tied up in thinking that everyone's going to be judging me, people are going to think that I'm a terrible trainer, all of those sort of thoughts. So they're your negative thoughts. And so you want to be able to try and change those negative thoughts and reactions into a positive thought and reaction. So your dog breaks and you have a plan, you go, okay, the dog's broken. It just means I need to go home and train some more. And again, coming at that confidence is key. And that training section is just having the reaction, okay, this is just information. It's not a reflection on me as a person. It's not a reflection on us as a team. It just means we need to go back and do some more training. So these are the sort of things you can do to try and change your mental perception in agility. The next part of it is our inner talk. Now, this is something we all do, and it's something that we all might not tell others. So when we think of inner talk, it's the things you say to yourself when you're walking around, and we all have conversations with ourselves all the time. And so it's really important that you are conscious of this and you're conscious of what you're telling yourself. And so there are different ways people talk to themselves. So there are people that, especially in agility, that are the fortune tellers. So they're the ones walking the course that's going, I'm absolutely positive my dog's going to go in that tunnel entry. There's nothing I can do is going to stop it from going in that tunnel entry. So that's how it's going to be. And that's the talk they're having in their mind when they're walking the course. The storyteller, they're the sort of person that's walking or even looks at the agility program and goes, oh, I always get disqualified on these judges' courses. I don't even know why I'm bothering to enter because I'm just going to get disqualified. It's never going to happen. This is going to be a problem. Then there's the critic, that their self-talk is quite harsh, that I'm never going to be as good as person A. Doesn't matter what I do, I'm never going to be good enough for this. They're always the type of person to criticize themselves. Then you have the observer, who I will plan my handling and trust my dog and my own skills. So they're the person that has that sort of inner self-talk that is a little kinder and more positive. And so focusing on the fact that they've done the training and they have the skills and they're going to make a plan based on that. So that's sort of like almost the opposite to the fortune teller, because the fortune teller is saying, oh, this dog's going to go in this tunnel entry. Whereas the observer goes, I've trained how to get my dog off the off-course tunnel, so this is not going to be a problem. And then we have the coach supporter type inner talk, where if this person can learn it, of course I can learn it, and you can learn it. And so they're the sort of people that are a little bit more analytical and a little bit more practical about saying, well, if it can be done and can be taught, we can do it. You can do it. They're the sort of cheer squad type mentality. And so these sort of inner talk is, you need to be really conscious of what's going on in the back of your mind. And sometimes we don't think about that inner talk that we have, and we don't tell others our real thoughts about it. But you really need to be conscious of what is going on in your mind and trying to change that inner dialogue so that you can change your approach to the thoughts of agility. So you don't want to be sitting in the fortune teller, storyteller course or section, or the critic. You want to try and change that so that you're having positive inner talk. Then we have our attitude and agility. And so when it comes to attitude, what you bring to the game is your attitude, and it's totally up to you. And so when we think about attitude, we can think about having what we call a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. So a fixed mindset is where, you have your belief and you have that inner talk and it stays there and nothing will change. And so no amount of training, no amount of skill work, fitness work is going to change your mindset about what your beliefs are in agility. Then we have what's called the growth mindset. And these are when you're opening yourself up to believing things can change. So changing your beliefs, changing the thoughts about I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I'm not fast enough. Changing the inner self-talk that you have about my dog is going to do this or I can't do that. And when you have a growth mindset, you can use your intellect and you can develop your skills and you can change the way you approach agility and that mental mindset. And so I know it's really easy to say, but the thing is, if you are conscious of all of these things going on in your brain, you can change them. And that's completely up to you about your attitude to your mental training in agility. Now, towards the end here, I want to talk about mental training is not just for agility, but it's for your life. And so all of the things that we've talked about, how mental training impacts you in agility, that inner self-talk, your beliefs, all of these things can impact every part of your life. And I'm just going to give you a little example for myself. So I started training as a OneMind dog instructor, I think about 5 years ago, and I had some deep held beliefs about not being good enough because I'd only been doing agility for 5 years. I'd only been teaching at my little club for about 2 years. And I kept thinking to myself when I went to Finland for my first lot of training, I can't do this. There's people from all over the world here. I'm going to be so out of my depth. I'm not going to be able to cope. This is going to be horrendous. I'm going to be so embarrassed. People are going to be judging me so harshly. However, when I got there, I had that growth mindset. I gave myself over to the process and loved every minute of it. And I came back from that training a changed person, because I realized that the things I was thinking beforehand were completely untrue, and that I did have the skills. I was good enough. I did know what I was talking about. And the coaches there were so good at bringing that out in us. And so that was my first taste of changing my mental attitude. And it really did help me there. And some of you might know, many of you might not, but I've recently been fighting breast cancer. And so I've come out the other end of treatment now, as you can see with the buzz cut. But this whole mental training that I've learned through OneMind Dogs and the support of the team around me really helped me get through that type of situation. Because you can go down a deep, dark hole of, this is going to kill me. This is going to impact my life. I can't fight this. How am I going to cope with chemo? How am I going to cope with radiation treatment? I have to have surgery. All of this thing can really impact you mentally, and you can end up in a very dark place. However, I was able to use the mental training tools that I've learned about changing that inner self-talk and thinking, okay, well, this is happening to me. I can't control what's happening in my body right now, but I can control my attitude to it. I can control what I'm eating. I can control the rest I'm getting. I can control my negative thoughts around it. So I can think, okay, well, if I listen to my doctors and do what I need to do, I can get through this. And so by being able to change that talk in my own mind, I was able to really focus on doing things that could help myself rather than wallowing in things that I couldn't change. And so the other thing is, I had support of, my tribe, my agility tribe were there to help me out, and they were all very supportive. There was no negative talk from them. They were breaking me out of that negative mind space as well, and really allowing me to change my mental attitude. And so this is what I mean by not just having mental training for agility, but the mental training that we practice in agility will impact every part of your life. And so it's such an important tool to use and work on every day. And so the other thing is, mental skills are trainable. So all of these things that I've talked about are trainable. What you need to do is make sure you are aware of what's happening in your mind. We tend to let our mind go and run free, but we really need to be conscious of what those things are, what our inner self-talk is, what our beliefs are, and just checking all the time to make sure that we're not letting those restrictive beliefs rule our life. And so in order to do this, I definitely surround myself with like-minded people. I love our OneMind Dog community because they are the like-minded people that I surround myself with that help me every day. And so we're also here for any of you. So we want to be that tribe for you to help you train your mental skills and think about your mental attitude and your mental training. And so we definitely want to help you in that aspect, because I've realized how much it's helped me, and OneMind Dogs has helped me change my mental attitude. And so I'd love to pass that on to you as well. So thank you so much for watching. We're going to be sending out our emails like all of our webinars. So you'll get your emails in the coming weeks, and we'll have some tips in there to help you with your mental training. And if there's been any questions, I'll answer those. And I look forward to hearing from you, and you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks so much.